Hi there, this is Jennifer Vanderbeek with scrapsoflife.com, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I put together this altered board book. For this project you'll need a board book, pencil and paper, sandpaper, paints, brushes, gel medium, pastels, pens, wax paper, a heat tool, and paper towels. So to start with, I am going to kind of deconstruct the board book. This one is just a simple board book I got at the Dollar Tree, and it has these little flaps in it, which could be really cute on another board book, but I didn't really have a need for them this time. So I'm going to rip all those off, and then I'm going to go over all the pages with some sandpaper because they're really shiny and I want to knock off some of the coating. Normally I would use gesso to prep my pages, but when I went to open my gesso, it was gnarly. It had gotten something in it and it was nasty and I had to toss it. Now, because part of the Stash Craft 19 challenge is not spending money when I have ample craft supplies around, I had to come up with a solution. I remembered reading somewhere or seeing somewhere that you can kind of make your own gesso with acrylic paint and other materials. So I grabbed some cornstarch and mixed it into some off-white regular craft paint, and that worked really well. It kind of gave it a bit of an eggshell finish and it was a little bit more opaque. It didn't quite have the body of a gesso, but it was adequate for the needs of this project. So I have covered up almost everything. If a little bit shows through, it's not a big deal. You just kind of want to take away anything that's going to distract from the project that we're going to do. I knew I wanted to do an altered book, and it came to me that I wanted to do one themed around the 9 Muses. And so I kind of brainstormed a little bit, and I came up with this idea to represent each of the muses by a different part of the body, the part of the body that corresponded to the area of creativity that they were the muse of. For some projects, I'll just go in and start and see where it takes me. For a project like this, where I wanted to make sure I had this overall theme and a continuity going, I took the time to sketch everything out in a sketchbook, and then I'm going to transfer the broad strokes, as it were, to the prepared pages of the altered book so that when I go in to do the individual pages, then I've got a roadmap to follow. I find that this also kind of helps with some of that blank page paralysis that can seize us when we're working on a big project like this. Now that I've got everything sketched out onto the pages, I can go ahead and get started. I'm only going to film these first 2 pages that I'm doing, which is Calliope, the muse of epic poetry, because the process is pretty much the same throughout. And this would be an incredibly long video if I filmed all 10 pages plus the covers. So I'm starting by laying down my background. I decided to keep things kind of clean and visually striking. I would do a different color scheme on each page. Pink and purple are the colors I chose for the Calliope spread, which was kind of the inside cover and Calliope. And since she is the muse of epic poetry, I chose to represent her by the ear because epic poetry is a form of oral history, storytelling, and I thought that was appropriate. And it was also one of the body parts that hadn't been used up by the muses that had much more definite, direct correlations. I created kind of an ombre or gradient across the background, and one of the items that goes through the entire book is this ribbon, and it ties together all of the pages and provides, like I said, that continuity of design throughout. So when I paint my backgrounds or my figures, I try and leave that space more or less open, but then I go over it with white paint anyway. For this ribbon, I'm calling it the thread of inspiration. And yes, I realize I misspelled thread. I'm going to go back and fix that. I did not realize that until I was sitting here watching the video to do this, and I'm so embarrassed, but oh well, these things happen. Thankfully, it's a white ribbon with purple pen on it. I can fix that pretty easily. I'm using Faber-Castell Pitt pens. They work very well on the acrylic paint. And actually on this spread, I did my writing first and then I sealed it with gel medium. On the other spreads, I actually reversed that because the Pitt pens work really well on the gel medium. So yeah, I'm going to go back and fix that thread. And on the thread for Calliope, I actually wrote the first lines of several epic poems. Next, we had Clio, the muse of history, and the lyre. Euterpe, the muse of the flute. Thalia, the muse of comedy. Melpomene for tragedy. Terpsichore for dance. Erato for love poetry. Polyhymna is the muse of sacred poetry, and then Urania is the muse of astronomy. Until I was through the very end, I did not know what I was going to do for the covers. I thought about leaving them blank. I thought about hiding them. I thought about putting different covers on them. And then at the last minute, I said, you know what? I'm just going to take a bunch of colors and make it look like a big palette, and then just call it Muse and be done. And I'm actually really happy with that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I had fun creating this project. It was a little bit of a challenge to get it done in a single week, but it happened. It worked, and I'm glad, and I'm going to go back and fix that misspelling. Make sure you check out some of the other videos in the Stashcraft 19 challenge. And as always, I hope you have a very creative day. Bye-bye.